have the phones open in the next hour. The toll-free number to join us is 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-2539. Specifically on Trump and the change in Syria policy, just saying they know that Assad did it with no evidence when the rebels have been caught. The Russians came out on April 18th, said U.S. training militants for false flag chemical attack at bases so that you have a excuse for airstrikes. That's March 17th, excuse me. One of the other articles is March 18th. Here's another one. Syrian Eastern militants prepare chemical attack provocation. Russia Ministry of Defense tipped off. So, again, my friends, it is crazy that this is all out there and we're not supposed to look at it. And then it's Alex Jones, Laura Ingraham, Tucker Carlson pointing all this out. Think about that. Now, remember Wesley Clark. He was the head of NATO, the number 2 in NATO, but the head of operations. He was under, General Jackson. And they got ordered by Obama's predecessor, Bill Clinton, to launch a nuclear attack on Pristina and the Russians when the Russians came into Pristina Airport in Kosovo, was being overrun by Albanian Muslims, and he was ordered to nuke them, and so was General Jackson, and they said no. And that's because Wesley Clark is a globalist and is a liberal, but he's not insane. So he got relief from command after that because they didn't follow the order to, this is famous, to nuke Russians at the Pristina air base in Serbia, being overrun by Muslims. And, of course, the Russians had a bunch of weapons caches there. Remember, Clinton was bombing Belgrade with depleted uranium. You talk about chemical warfare. You talk about radiological warfare. And so a few years after he's out of command, he's at the Pentagon. This is 10 years ago. And they've got a plan to hit 7 countries. And these are countries they want to destabilize, overthrow, and make more radical. And it's bipartisan, whether it's Bill Clinton or George W. Bush or Barack Obama. It's been the same policy. That's all this is. There's WikiLeaks on how they're trying to get Trump to attack Syria and overthrow Assad. That's a fact. So when they play dumb and act like that's not what they're trying to walk us into, it's a fraud. But see, Clark's already experienced getting the order to nuke the Russians. And you can look it up at the time. He called up General Jackson. Guys, you can search this. General Jackson, head of NATO, refused attack on Russians in Pristina. And they're like, it's their base. They built it. We're not going to bomb them. It would have gone to nuclear war like that. But that's the type of crazy town we're dealing with here. And in every case, whether it was the Clintons then or now, it's for the Muslims. Because the globalists see the demographics. Europe's dying. The U.S. is dying. The Muslims are having 6 kids on average. There are going to be 3 billion of them by the end of the next decade. They are the future, not even the Chinese. The decision has been made. And the non-radical Muslims, they've all got to die to make room for the new global caliphate that's going to merge into this whole system. It's incredible. It's the plan. It's here. So let's go to Wesley Clark. Here it is.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the joint staff who had used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, And by that time, we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Now notice, it all goes in order, and he goes on for an hour describing it. This is the plan. It's the neocon, globalist, leftist think tank plan, and that's why whether it was Hillary, Obama, whoever, they continue it. And then they use every new Muslim country they bring down to get its weapons and exploit the next. They even took out our allies like Egypt. Now, there was a countervalence against that. And Trump, you know, has helped Egypt try to fix its problems once he got in, but will he double-cross Egypt now? So this should be a discussion really about Trump and have they compromised him? Because let me tell you, you get somebody's lawyer and you've got hundreds of properties and companies and stuff. I mean, there's no way to follow the laws in this country when you're that big. I guarantee you, they've got something on Trump now. It's not Russia related. We know that. But Trump went with his generals, even though Mattis had told him not to. I got so mad Friday night. I was like, you know, Mattis, that's such and such. And then I watched it there. Mattis is the one saying no. I just got so mad. I was talking about Mattis and I went into something else. And I was not even saying that about Mattis. I've actually talked to people that know Mattis, and they say he's actually a good influence in the White House. Dumper just follows orders. So I guess it's, you know, I know Roger plays poker and drinks whiskey with Bolton. I saw a great graphic that got tweeted at Real Alex Jones. We need to retweet it, but it was the big beard of or the mustache of Bolton, and it says war. It forms war. Maybe pull out cartoon of Bolton where his mustache says war. Maybe we can find that for TV viewers. But it's not funny, and we can laugh at this all day. Ha ha ha! We're going to overthrow 7 countries and make up excuses to get rid of the border with Europe and then flood Russia and Europe with Muslims. There it is. Well, the crew's great finding that in 10 seconds. You guys retweet that at Real Alex Jones. I saw somebody had it in my feed. I meant to retweet it, and then I fell asleep. Have you ever done this where you're laying in bed with your iPhone and you fall asleep, and then it actually cut my lip and loosened my tooth, falling from like 2 feet? Bam. So I got to stop doing that. I tell you, I was like reading and looking at that at like 2 in the morning after the airstrikes on Friday and just fell asleep in the phone. Bam! And boy, I was awake after that. But continuing, we're going to go to your calls in the next segment. We're going to go to Pastor Sam, Vincent, Carlos, David, Lucas, Elaine, Dan, and many others. Before I end this transmission, I don't lionize Russia. I don't think they're perfect. I don't think Syrian government's perfect. They're far from that. But the West has been run by globalists a long time, and they started the fight. And they started this whole Arab Spring, and they started the civil war in Ukraine and in Syria and in many other places. And it's morally wrong to go do that to those countries. But if you're bringing in jihadis that are hundreds of times worse than the current regime, I mean, I know a lot of Europeans that were vacationing 7 years ago before the globalists started the civil war. And I remember looking up some of the travel sites, like TripAdvisor. They have some of the best scuba diving, some of the best beaches, best hotels. The Syrians, they say, everybody are so cool. They're like the coolest Muslims in the world. And, of course, the globalists want to blow them up. And you just can't do stuff like that and say, well, you don't get the larger plan. No, I get you say it's a larger plan about, stopping tyrants and sending a message to Russia and North Korea. No, it's about breaking Europe's borders up for the larger global government and attacking Russia with jihadis and flooding Europe with jihadis and bringing in a world government to then basically referee and mediate between the clash of civilizations. I've read the white papers, and most of you generals haven't read the Project for a New American Century. I've not just read they're rebuilding America's defenses and Pax Americana. I've read probably 30 of the reports.
Electrify your day with Secret 12. It's like lightning in a bottle. We all have days in which we just can't seem to perform at the level we'd like to. Infowars Life Secret 12 is designed to naturally energize your body and mind with 2 great tasting and super high quality forms of vitamin B12. Proper vitamin and nutrient intake is essential to keep your body functioning at optimum levels. The reality is, it's hard to take in the proper amount of vitamins we need each day with our modern diets. Secret 12 by Infowars Life is an easy way to naturally upgrade your vitamin B12 intake and support your body's natural systems. It pairs 2 forms of vitamin B12 into one explosive formula. Vitamin B12 supports healthy energy levels through red blood cell formation and aiding in the body's natural processes, but it also assists with many other functions of the body. Electrify your mind and body and take your health to the next level. Experience the power of Secret 12 at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.